Hi, and welcome back to the Elder Law Question and Answer Series. My name is Michael Rose, and I'm joined today by Mindy Rocha-Barella. She is the funeral director for Dignity Memorial, and she's here today to talk to us about pre-planning. So welcome, Mindy. Thank you so much for joining us. Mindy, I kind of want to talk about the funeral itself. We get a lot of clients in who often say, I don't want a funeral. They're too formal. I think everybody kind of has an idea of what a funeral is. So I'd like to talk about funerals themselves. First of all, what purpose does a funeral serve?
So funerals have a misconception of being very tight, very traditional, very church. And that's not today's funeral. We do celebrations. And essentially, the funeral is to celebrate a life well lived, to remember the impact that that person had throughout their life and to mourn their loss, but also celebrate what they accomplished.
Okay, so I know that a lot of people think that, I don't want a bunch of people crying over me after I die. I guess what would you say to that if somebody comes and says, I don't like the idea of somebody or a big group of people getting around and just mourning my loss?
It's not about necessarily mourning anymore. Today, it's more about a celebration. We do parties, essentially, where we're sitting around tables, sharing stories, enjoying food and beverage with family and friends, and that's how we're celebrating a life. It's not about sitting in pews or sitting in church and listening to scriptures anymore. It's about stories. It's about friends and family coming together and sharing, the sad times and shedding some tears, but also laughing and enjoying each other's company, remembering the good times and celebrating with photos and memorabilia. We decorate to celebrate that life and bring in the elements that were important to that person to help really paint a picture of what they lived, how they lived, and what impact they had on people.
Okay, so it sounds a little bit more like a party now. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a happy time. But do you still do funeral homes in the area still do traditional
we
funerals?
Can do essentially anything a family wants.
Right.
So if they want the traditional scriptures and setting, we can do that. Okay. If they want a memorial service, we can do that. If they want a celebration, we can do that. If they want an open house setting, we can do that. We can do essentially whatever a family envisions, whatever is going to help them not only mourn the loss, but celebrate that life, we can do that.
Okay, so I don't know how quite to ask this question, but are there different levels of funerals? I mean, I've heard of celebrations of life, mm-hmm. Which is a little bit different, right? I mean, is that more of just a gathering, or?
The term celebration of life or funeral is really indicative of what a person's perception of it is.
Okay.
There's a lot of anytime someone has died, it's a funeral. Or there's others that anytime someone dies, it's a celebration. A celebration really is more, in my opinion and my experience, not necessarily having a casket present or an urn present, but more of stories being told, life stories being told. There's not a lot of tradition around that, so we're not necessarily going to church on those occasions. We're not really listening to traditional music. We're bringing in more influential things from that person's life, memorabilia that might have been important to them. If they like to fish, we might bring a fishing boat in. They like to hunt, we might bring in decoys and those kinds of things and decorate the space. Video tributes, stories being written, special takeaways for the family to take home. That's more of the celebration that people are turning to nowadays. Okay. We still do the traditional thing where we go to church and we do the scriptures and have a priest or a pastor. But with our community, they're looking more for that celebration, more of the party.
Okay. And for, as far as funerals go, I know that a lot of people say, well, I don't want a funeral. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try and lead you into the answer I want here, but I mean, what is the funeral for? I mean, is it for the person that died, or is it for the the people that are still alive.
So what I tell people, because I hear this all the time, don't want a funeral. That's fine. I don't want anything. That's fine. The celebration, the funeral, whatever happens after the person passes, it is about the person that has passed away, but it's for those that they leave behind. It's to allow those people to grieve that loss in whatever way they need to do that.
Okay.
So, yeah, you don't have to have it, but it's not for you. It's about you. It's for those that you leave behind.